You're listening to The Bible Guys, a podcast where a couple of friends talk about the Bible in fun and practical ways.
Well, hey everybody, my name is Chris, and behind me, eating already, is Jeff, and we are The Bible Guys. Yeah, you just want to show appreciation,
It's country smokehouse,
show it love.
All over the country, people come up to me and go, "Oh, hey, I know you like hunting. Hey, have one of these venison sticks." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Have you ever been to country smokehouse?"
Yeah, and that's the
Ridiculous.
standard, huh?
It is. They set the bar that high. So
Well, hey, listen, for our listeners online, because we're going to be posting this online. In fact, this is the first live event that we've ever done that is actually going to be posted online.
That's right.
As an episode. So it's going to be a little bit longer today. So if you've tuned in today for the Bible Guys, normally it's about 25 minutes. It's going to be longer than that. So hopefully you'll hang in there with us.
poor people, because they can barely make it the 25 minutes we
I
normally
know,
go, right?
I know.
And they're like, ugh.
But I want the people on Spreaker and Apple Music and all those guys that are just listening, I want them to realize that there's a crowd in front of us. So let them hear you.
Yeah.
Everybody cheer.
There you go. Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
See, that's how it's supposed to be right there.
That's right there. And by the way, because we record in a studio, we have never been able to actually do a podcast in front of people like this.
Yeah.
Right? We've had events, but not.
Yeah, we've done Bible Guys live, but we've never done it
Correct.
for a recording.
Yeah, that's right.
Big time now. We
Yes.
are big time.
Yes, we are
Pretty
big
soon
time.
we're going to get a bus and just hit the road.
This is not true. None of that is true.
No? Okay.
Okay, so we're going to do several things. We have several things to accomplish,
Yes,
right?
okay.
Okay, so here's the first one. The first one is we want to do a little audience participation because we both got so excited that we actually can interact with people.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a segment that Desiree put together that we normally do for a podcast. And by the way, let's pause and say this. How many of you actually, oh, wow. Sorry about that. How many of you actually, because some of you may be guests or coming with spouses or whatever, but raise your hand if you actually listen to the Bible Guys. Raise your hand. Okay, that's almost everybody in the room. Wow, there's probably what, Jeff, about 80 people?
million?
80 people in the room?
A million?
Okay, very
Hundreds of thousands.
Yes,
Is that
which means
something
about
I can't
80
see. The lights
to,
are in my
to
eyes a little bit.
90 people, yeah. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do Would You Rather, only we're going to do it crowd interaction. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to literally call out somebody in the audience to participate. So raise your hand if you feel like answering a simple question. Raise your hand real quick. Raise your hand real quick. Okay, right there. Casey, go ahead and stand
There you
right
go.
up. Stand
There
up.
you
You
go.
got to stand up in front of everybody.
Okay.
So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give everybody instruction. We're all going to participate. I'm going to ask Casey questions. She's going to pick one or the other. And then we're going to ask the audience whether they agree. So you're going to have to either do thumbs up or thumbs down. And when you do thumbs up, you scream yay, and very delightfully. And then if you say nay, you got to go nay. So you got to go yay or nay. Okay.
Right.
Let's practice that.
And
Ready?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Everybody say yay.
Yay!
Everybody say nay.
Nay.
Say yay.
Yay!
Nay. Okay.
This is one of your favorite segments. That's all I want to highlight.
Oh, yeah,
Right,
of course.
You love
I
this segment.
do, because it's fun. So here it is, Casey.
Did you tell him what the segment is?
Yeah, would you rather?
Would you rather?
Yeah.
Okay, go. I
Casey-
wasn't paying attention. I was getting brownies.
I know you were. We all know you were.
Brownies.
All right, here we go. Casey, would you rather have a photographic memory or perfect pitch? You got to choose one. Got to make it quick. Perfect pitch. How many agree? Yay or nay? I don't. I disagree.
Yay.
I'd rather have photographic memory. Okay. It sounds like most of the room disagree with you.
Okay.
You get no
Sorry.
prize. I
Sorry.
award you no points whatsoever.
No points.
But you would have gotten no points anyway.
Okay.
All right. So all you got to do is pick one. Who wants to go next? Oh, Liz, my wife. Honey, hey, baby. Go ahead and stand up, honey, in front of everybody. Here we go. All right. Would you rather run in to an... No, I'm going to change it. Would you rather team up with Spider-Man or Iron Man?
Ooh.
Which one, Lizzie? Iron Man? Can you
Iron
tell
Man.
me why, just out of curiosity? You love him.
She loves.
Okay.
She loves. Iron
She
Man.
loves Iron Man. Okay. Everybody, yay or nay at the same time.
He
Go.
also happens to have a goatee.
Oh, really? Yeah. I'm a Spider-Man guy. I'm sort of hurt a little bit. Oh, okay. That's a Liz love. Okay. Want to do one more?
Yes.
Want to do one more?
Yeah, do one more.
Do you want to read?
You want me to do one?
Yeah, pick somebody and read.
I'll do one. Okay, I need somebody. Somebody that'll do it. Give me an answer. Who? Right there? You? Are you gonna do it? Come on, somebody. All right, he's going to do it. She'll do it. She'll do it right there. Go ahead, stand up. Here we go. Would you rather run into an alien or Bigfoot? Okay.
Okay, yay or nay, everybody?
Yay or nay? Bigfoot?
I think I would rather run into Bigfoot, because an alien, you don't know what's going on.
Bigfoot will tear your arms off you.
Yeah, not if you run faster than him.
I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah. Did you guys ever hear of Jeff's theory that Bigfoot must exist in a constant state of blurriness?
Yeah. All the pictures of Bigfoot are blurry, and it's because Bigfoot's blurry.
Yeah.
Right? He's just blurry.
All right. Well, hey, that was a fun opener.
That was a great one.
And now what we're going to do is we're going to do two openers, right?
Two openers.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Well, we're giving them extra money.
It is a podcast of firsts.
Podcast at first. Big time.
Big time.
Big time. Big fan.
So what happened was Tom and Kyle and others have questions that were sent in from the people of Inlet City, and people have questions. So this is almost like a Stump the Pastor, right?
Yes.
Okay. So are we going to...
Can we start at the bottom and go up?
Yeah, let's do that.
I think the top one is crazy good.
It's crazy good. Yeah. Okay, let's start at the bottom. I'll read the bottom one. This is from Austin Blount.
Oh, Austin. Congratulations.
Okay, and so Austin says, where did Jesus go for the 3 days that he was dead before rising from the dead? So he was in the tomb from Friday to Sunday.
That's where I think he was.
Yeah, so where did he go, Jeff?
I don't know.
Well, that is the answer to most
That's most of the questions we answer. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's the reason why it's a Stump the Pastor question, right?
Yeah, so I think you're asking it because the Apostles' Creed said he went into hell, right? So that's not in the Bible, per se, but it is in the Apostles' Creed. And the idea was that Jesus would go there and then take the captives and set them free. And that's based on 1 Peter. Talks about
3,
that. Yeah. Talks about the idea that Jesus went to. I think I have the verse. Let me see if I pulled it up just so that we didn't do this specifically.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah, where he says, where he actually set the captives free.
Yeah. So the Apostles' Creed says he descended into hell, and on the third day he rose again. In 1 Peter chapter 3, it says he was put to death in the body, but made alive in the spirit. And after being made alive, he went and made proclamation to the imprisoned spirits. Some translations say that he went and proclaimed his victory to the imprisoned spirits. So the question would be, who are they? And where was that?
And where was it, yeah.
Right? So in the Apostles' Creed, they assume that was in hell. Some people think that those imprisoned spirits are the fallen angels.
Yeah.
And that Jesus just went and said, I won. Right? Yeah. So that's part of it. Other people think that maybe it was the people that were in. Remember when Jesus tells the story of the rich man, he dies, and Lazarus dies, and there's the Abraham's bosom. It was this place, paradise, where the believers in God were kept. And then Jesus had said, while he was still alive, I'm going to go prepare a place for you, right? And then you're going to go be with me. And so some theologians believe that Jesus went and took the people out of Abraham's bosom or out of paradise and took them to that, in my Father's house are many mansions place. And
let's not forget that Jesus also said to Mary, don't touch me because I have not yet ascended to my Father, right?
So he didn't go to heaven.
So he didn't go to heaven. So we know that is true.
Right.
And we know that he was dead. So he died because, he breathed his last at 3:00 in the afternoon. Yeah. So we definitely know that he wasn't in heaven. So the ultimate answer is we don't know, but that will be a great question based on these theories when we get to heaven.
I think he probably took the people from paradise to,
what was then
in
heaven?
my Father's house, many mansions. Ephesians, Paul talks about it, that Jesus took captivity captive. And that seems to be, in the time that he was in the grave, that seems to be it. So there's a misunderstanding, to finalize that, there's a misunderstanding with the Apostles' Creed where it says Jesus descended into hell. We're thinking of hell like Dante's Inferno kind of hell, right? That's what we're thinking. But the word hell is that Sheol, which just means the place of the dead. Right, so he descended into the place of the dead, and then 3 days later he ascended. And so that's the Apostles' Creed version, but because it has the word hell in it, we kind of think of like flaming fire kind of thing, but I don't believe that's what it was.
Yeah. Oh, I just figured out you were answering him because he's right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So everybody else in the room knew that too.
Yeah.
That's Austin Blount. Hey, Chris, that's Austin.
Yes,
meet Chris.
I've met Austin before. Yeah, at first I thought you were talking to Tom and then Liz and all that, but Austin's there as well. Okay.
He's like, what a jerk. He's ignoring everybody else and just talking to this guy.
Yeah, for real. Okay, so we have question number 2.
This is a good one.
You want to read it?
Yeah, it says, give me clarity. This is from Alex Jones. Hi, Alex Jones.
Hey, Alex.
Yeah. Clarity on why John the Baptist called out Herod Antipas for marrying his brother's wife in the Gospels and for breaking God's law about marriage while Herod wasn't even a Jew. Why was John so concerned about this issue?
So I would say, number 1, he was a prophet, and prophets preach against sin all the time.
Yeah.
And then number 2, because Herod had actually made a profession of faith. His parents did, right?
Yeah, I think it was his great-grandfather became the first tetrarch, overseeing Israel, and so they converted to Judaism then. And so he wouldn't have been full-blown Jewish, but was following the Jewish religion. And then his father is the one who built Herod's temple, and he commissioned it for the Jewish people. And then they lived publicly. They lived by the Jewish law.
Yeah.
The Herods did.
Yeah.
Publicly. Privately, they lived like a bunch of rascals.
Rascals.
Right? Yeah. So
love it.
So it was pretty sketchy the way that they lived. And so he's also calling out the fact that if you're claiming to be a Jew, you're supposed to be living by the law. And that John the Baptist had said, you're breaking the law. And he's talking about the Levitical law. You can't marry your brother's wife. That's an incestuous, relationship. And he had divorced his own wife and then went and goes and seduces Herodotus, which is Herodias, I think, which was his sister-in-law. Yeah, and she left her.
And ultimately, he lost his head because of it.
John the Baptist did.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Which was terrible.
So he was holding him to the standard that he was publicly claiming, but privately wasn't living that way. That's why John the Baptist did that.
Yeah. Okay, and then finally...
this one's so cool.
Yeah, Logan...
I read it like 4 times.
Childers.
Yeah.
Says this, in Matthew chapter 17, verses 1 through 13, also in Luke 9, 28 through 36, when Jesus goes up to the mountain to speak with God, Moses and Elijah are also there. Is it a possibility of them being in their own times and being brought to some sort of place without time on the mountain where all 3 could be technically in their own time, yet be teleported to speak in one instant with everyone who had been brought together by God? ? Also, would this, in a way, have strengthened the processors, Moses and Elijah, to be even more confident in what they were building towards by leading and prophesying? So basically what it's saying is this. It's saying, what if during the transfiguration, what if God was able to pull Moses out of his time? So back in Exodus, Moses just sort of blipped out of his time and went back to his time, and he experienced the transfiguration while he was alive on earth in that time frame, right? So it's a little bit of a movie kind of a thing, which of course I'm all about.
I knew you'd love this. You want to go to lunch now with
Yeah.
Logan?
I'll be like, dude, what other thoughts do you have? And then also with Elijah. And by the way, this sounds hilarious, but I've had this thought before. This exact thought. Because if it was during the time. Well, then,
if something ever happens to Chris, Logan, are you looking for a job? Because I'm going to need another Bible guy.
Hey, we never said they were.
Think the same.
Whatever. But if bottom line is if that were true, then that would be super compelling, right? For Moses then to have seen Jesus live and then, existed and talked and saw everybody and then went back and he'd be like, man, talk about believing God is real. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. So let's just catch everybody up, just not assuming everybody understands. So the transfiguration, Jesus goes up on the mountain and he brings Peter, James, and John with him. And it was during a very difficult time of ministry. And he goes up to the top of the mountain and Moses and Elijah meet him there. Yeah. The Bible says they minister to Jesus. They give him this strength. When Jesus comes back down off the mountain, he glowed. right? There was this glow about him because of this interaction with Moses and Elijah. And it was a very deeply spiritual moment for Jesus. It was kind of, now from that point on, Jesus is heading to Jerusalem to die. This is now, it's going to take a few months, but everything is going downhill from there. He's heading towards Jerusalem. And Peter, James, and John, they wanted to build like little temples to all three, right?
Little huts.
Yeah, little huts. And they didn't do it. So the question that Logan is asking is it possible that there was like this bubble over top of the hill where Jesus and Moses and Elijah were outside of time? Right? That's what he's asking. And then there was no time for them. And so Moses was just walking around in his regular time, and suddenly he's standing there talking to Jesus. And Elijah's walking around in his regular time, and he's standing there talking to Jesus during Jesus' time here.
Mind equals blown.
Yeah, which is super cool, right? Which means then that you've got this intersection of multiple times, and so then it means you get multiple, right?
Yeah,
so
it's like the Flash when he was in that bubble.
Super cool.
Yeah.
I would say this. Theologically, I think it's fairly compelling.
For sure.
Right? Because we know God is outside of time.
That's right.
Right? God is the author of time. There is no time for God. A day is 1,000 years. 1,000 years is as a day to God. So time is important to you and me. Time would have been important to Moses while he was alive and Elijah while he was alive. And so the question was, it really is, do you think that Moses and Elijah had already died and these were like resurrected bodies
which
showing up?
I always assumed.
Right. Or were they alive? God just transported them to the mountain for a second and then sent them back.
Right.
And if so, how much more confident would they be about their ministry, knowing that they saw, one, Moses got to be in the promised land. He got to see the promised one, Elijah being the prophet, right? And they summarized the law and the prophets. That's why they did. Yeah. It's a cool idea. It's not in the Bible, but it's not against the Bible.
Well, and it's just fun to think about. So the ultimate answer is we don't know, Logan. Thanks for asking. Right?
Yeah.
That's really it.
That's it.
Okay. Hey.
So I typed it into AI. I asked AI.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was having a hard time tracking with the question. My mind was blown like 5 times.
Uh-huh.
So it says this. 1, Logan, you be so proud. It said, Logan, that's a deep and thoughtful question. And you're tapping into some rich theology and mystery around the transfiguration. That's it. So even AI was
what?
Yeah.
That's the only thing it
went on.
You?
So first of all, is it possible that Moses and Elijah were in their own times?
Good question,
and God brought
Logan.
them into a timeless moment to meet with Jesus? Short answer, yes. It's a very plausible idea and even quite beautiful. Then it goes on and unpacks all these
so
things.
at least it said plausible, right?
And then
I thought you were saying all it said was like,
no,
good
I was
for
just
you
saying that it was very
asking.
complimentary. You got the biggest brain on the planet saying, good job. You're thinking really good, Logan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the other one was, could this moment have strengthened Moses and Elijah in their own missions? And it said, that's an incredible thought and very possible.
Okay.
And then it went on and gave some really good stuff, I thought.
You know, speaking of...
And you can trust everything in the...
Speaking of deep thoughts...
You have some deep thoughts?
You know who else had deep thoughts?
Who?
Micah.
Micah. Yes. Micah had deep thoughts.
Yes. Yeah, yes. Jack Handy and Micah.
Yeah. So if you don't know, we're always trying to find the worst possible transition from the silly stuff into the...
Now, the reason why we're in Micah, y'all, is because in the podcast studio...
Because we're Bible guys. We're big fans.
Yeah, we're big fans. We are in that time frame where it's Isaiah, it's Micah, Hezekiah. It's right there in that time frame. So we sort of said, hey, for the live Bible Guys event, we're going to do Micah chapter 6, verses 1 through 8.
Yes.
So it's all you.
Yeah. So it says here, we're just going to read 8 verses in Micah chapter 6. It says, listen to what the Lord is saying. Stand up and state your case against me. Let the mountains and hills be called to witness your complaints. And now, O mountains, listen to the Lord's complaint. He has a case against his people, and he will bring charges against Israel. O my people, what have I done to you? What have I done to make you tired of me? Answer me. For I brought you out of Egypt and redeemed you from slavery, and I sent Moses and Aaron and Miriam to help you. Don't you remember my people, how King Balak of Moab tried to have you cursed, and how Balaam son of Beor blessed you instead? Remember your journey from Acacia Grove to Gilgal, when I, the Lord, did everything I could to teach you about my faithfulness? What can we bring to the Lord? Should we bring him burnt offerings? Should we bow before the Most High God with offerings and yearling calves? Should we offer him thousands of rams and 10,000 rivers of olive oil? Should we sacrifice our firstborn children to pay for our sins? No, O people, The Lord has told you what is good, and this is what he requires of you, to do what is right, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Well, there you go.
There you go.
Yep.
So there it is, 8 verses. And by the way, I'm very familiar.
And I'm really grateful because there weren't any hard names to read.
Yes, that's
super
true.
glad.
I'm familiar with Micah 6:8. We used to sing it as kids. But the first 7 verses, as I was listening to that, sometimes you hear things like that and you're like, what are they referring to? I was looking at the Life Application Study Bible, and for those of us in the room who don't have a good study Bible, we always promote the Life Application one.
Get this one.
Yep, it's really good.
Not that one.
Oh, yeah, this is a chronological version.
Yeah, the chronological is hard to follow unless you're on purpose doing it chronologically.
Which is what we're doing.
This is the standard Life Application Study Bible.
But they have great
like
notes.
$20 online.
They have great notes. And this one says, the story of Balak and Balaam, which is referenced in verse number, Verse number 5?
Mm-hmm.
Is found in Numbers chapter 22 and 24. And Achaia Grove was the Israelites' campsite by the Jordan River just before they entered the Promised Land in Joshua chapter 2. There, the people received many of God's instructions about how to live. Gilgal, their first campsite after crossing the Jordan in Joshua 4, was where the people renewed their covenant with God in Joshua 5. These 2 places represent God's loving care for his people, his willingness both to protect them and to warn them about potential troubles. So in Micah's day, the people had forgotten this covenant and its benefits and had turned away from God. So those seemingly random things that he's mentioning, he's recalling. Don't you remember right before you crossed the Jordan River? Don't you remember right after you crossed the Jordan River? Don't you remember how God met with you, gave you instructions, how he ministered to you, that he made a covenant with you, and you as a people have forgotten this covenant. You've forgotten God.
Yeah.
That's what
I've
he's
been
saying.
there.
Yeah.
I've been to Acacia Grove.
Oh, for real?
That area, yeah. So what's really amazing is this is where the Israelites crossed the Jordan River, right there. This is where Elijah ascended back to heaven. The plain's right above it. So you go down to the river, it's kind of flat right there. It comes down off these hills, and there's a little plain right here. You're less than a mile away, 2 miles away. And then that's also where Jesus was baptized. All happened in the same exact spots, basically.
Well, then I've been there because I knew that I was.
It's
at
on the
place.
Jordan side of the river, not the Israel side.
So did you do baptisms where Jesus was baptized?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we did too.
Yeah. So we parked on the Jordan side. And we got this. It was. Remember when Iran was shooting rockets into Israel? So we landed in Amman, Jordan, like 3 hours after the airport reopened. And so then we got a pass from the head of intelligence for Jordan to go down and visit the baptism site. And we keep getting stopped by military people the whole time, and there were no tourists anywhere around. And so as we're driving around, they gave us like this thing we could figure out where all the stuff was. It was really, really cool.
Yeah.
Well, and then we almost got arrested.
Now, is this when you went 2 years ago with the mission trip?
No, this was like last summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I went, it was 2009. So I'm sure, it was just quite a while back. I'm sure they probably told me this is where they crossed the Jordan River. I just probably forgot that was the same spot.
Yeah, except when you're on the Israel side, they're usually highlighting the fact that you're just right there is Jericho.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So but on the Jordan side, they don't have Jericho, so they got to tell you this is where.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And by the way, on verse number 1, I also, I know I'm referring to these notes here, but I also love the note where it says, "Stand up and state your case against me. Let the mountains and the hills be called to witness your complaints." And it basically says, here it is. It says, God called to the mountains to confirm the people's guilt. The mountains would serve as excellent witnesses, for it was in the high places that the people had built pagan altars and sacrificed to false gods. And then it lists different places, 1 Kings 14, Ezekiel chapter 20, Jeremiah 17. And so that's very interesting as well, right?
Yeah. So he's calling in his witnesses.
Right.
Against the people, because God goes on, he says, so I'm going to testify against you. I got some trouble with you, right? I've got an issue with you people. And he goes, what do I have to do? I led you out of slavery. I sent you Moses and Aaron and Miriam, and they were great leaders. And I proved my faithfulness to you. When the king of Moab was trying to get you cursed, I talked the prophet into blessing you instead. He's like, I just don't even know what I need to do to make you guys believe that I'm faithful to you. And, one of his accusations through all of the minor prophets is, you're always cheating on me. God is always accusing them of committing spiritual adultery against God, always cheating with other gods. And God's saying, but I've always been faithful. I can prove it over and over and over again. And so pointing out those mountains where they were doing all their illicit worship was one of those things like, hey, I know you've been naughty, but I haven't been.
Well, he asked the question. He says, and what a great question. Oh, people, what have I done to you? What have I done to make you tired of me? Then he says, answer me. Yeah. Well, they can't come up with an answer, right? So God has, he's basically asking them, and he's like, hey, if I've been unfaithful one time, if I've been unfair, if I've been unjust, if I've been unloving, without justification, we know that God has judgment. We know that God calls us to righteousness. We know that God sets laws in motion. We know that God demands glory for himself, right? All those things are in place. But what he's really saying is, he's saying, name me one thing that's been out of place, that has gone against my character. Name me an offense. Right. And of course, they're without answer.
It's really amazing because he's talking about his faithfulness. You can see him kind of pleading with them. It's on a relational level. God's clearly coming and going, I wanted a relationship with you. You keep rejecting it. And they pivot from relationship to religion in verse 6. Their response was not, oh, God, we've broken your heart, and we want things to be right between us. That wasn't it. Their thing was, okay, what sacrifices do you want now? Right. That's what they pivot to. Can we bring some burnt offerings? Or
1,000 rams.
Yeah, we'll bring 1,000 rams. You want us to sacrifice our firstborn? Yeah. Right? So they're just looking for some kind of a religious solution to what God was saying was a relational problem.
Right.
Well, because they just want to jump through the hoops, check the boxes.
Yeah, and what he's really saying is, he's saying, hey, I don't want the rams. I don't want the sacrifices. I don't want 10,000 rivers of olive oil or sacrifice of your burnt, firstborn children. He says, no. The answer clearly is no. Oh, people, the Lord has told you what is good. And then, of course, this is the famous verse that I grew up singing. Do you remember this song?
Only vaguely.
Yeah.
You've been singing it almost nonstop.
Well, because we chose this, so all day I've been singing, and I learned it in the King James Version, right? And it goes, and you're supposed to echo. You want to echo?
I don't know if I will or not.
All right, so it goes.
I've taken a stand against singing.
Okay, all right. Well, it goes, he hath shown thee, oh man, what is good and what the Lord requires of thee. And then it does it again. And then the ending says, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. And by the way,
very snappy tune.
It is not a good tune at all.
Very snappy tune.
It's really just not a good tune. It's not a catchy tune at all.
You imposed that on these people. I tried. You saw me try not to. You saw me.
It's really not a great tune. It really isn't.
Very, very snappy.
I don't know why we sang it that way. I mean, come up with a better tune. AI could have written something way better than that.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
but it's an old tune.
Great.
Yeah, but obviously when you put words to music, it helps you remember the lyrics, and in this case, a Bible verse to music.
You use a different side of your brain.
Yes.
So a lot of times when you're trying to memorize things, you're trying to memorize it logically, and and if that's not the side of your brain you're always exercising, it can be very difficult. But with music, you're using the other side of your brain, and so
that's how I remember all the books of the Bible. I told you. Remember that?
Really?
Yeah. When I showed at Bible college, Dr. Sewell said, "Okay, your homework for tomorrow is come in and quote all 66 books of the Bible in order." And everybody, had grown up in church their whole lives, like easy, we already know it. But here I am. I'm only a Christian a couple years.
You're pagan.
And I'm a rascal, as you said before. Rascal. And so I'm like, how am I going to do this? And so I chose, for some reason, 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians. I don't know why.
Genesis, Exodus,
I go Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Isaiah, Joel. And I just kept on going all the way down. And I go all the way through, and that's how I learned it. And I'm like, and so now, here it is, 30-something years later, I can still sing that. And so literally when you said, help me find Micah, I'm like, yeah, I know it. Ezekiel, Daniel, Isaiah, Joel.
When we were getting ready, they had us do a sound check, and then Chris was talking to somebody, and I was like, hey, what are we doing today? He goes, Micah 6:8. I was like, all right, can you help me find Micah? Right? And he's like, yeah, sure, I can find it. like I couldn't find Micah.
Yeah, and I'm going to sing my little song.
Yeah,
that's how I'm going to find it.
Yeah.
But all of that to say, when you put the Bible verses to music, it's exactly why we believe worship music is powerful, right? So most of the worship music, if not almost exclusively all of it that we sing here at Heritage Church, is based on either directly a Bible verse, or a verse directly out of there, or it'll come from a biblical principle, right?
Yeah.
It'll be something that is true about God. And so when we sing, we remind ourselves of what is true.
Yeah.
Right? And so sometimes we walk into a church and we start with worship, singing worship. It's all worship, but singing worship. And sometimes we're not in the mood. We're not in the mood to hear, we're crabby. We just got in a fight in the parking lot with our family, whatever it is, right?
Wow. What are you doing on Sunday mornings?
Not me, but I'm talking about Joe Schmo.
Not you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Liz is here. She's sitting right there.
Yeah. Hi, honey.
Which is awesome. I wish Liz came to every taping
of the Bible guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you step in it a lot, and I'm just imagining what Liz is thinking.
Yeah. I hear about it later. But
in a nice way. In only the nicest ways.
Yes.
You hear about it.
Of course. She's always super nice.
See? Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, back to my thought that I had.
Go ahead. It's all about you.
Which is when you walk into a church and you start to sing worship, what it does is it tunes your brain into what is true. And sometimes we have to sing it, and I hate to say it this way, but sing it until we believe it. Right? Over and over again, we're just saying the words out loud, and finally we just let go of our bitterness or our anger or our doubt, or maybe we shift our mindset or we stop worrying. Our mind just sort of focuses on what is true, and especially if we choose a song that is relevant to the subject of the day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so all of that to say this. So I said all of that to say it's amazing how we can listen to different podcasts. We can listen to different worship music, and there are so many resources available to all of us that can help us along the way, both in our Christian walk on a daily basis, but then also, just to help us get through sometimes the hardest of struggles.
Yeah. I didn't realize we were going this direction tonight with the thing. So if you don't know, with the Bible guys, we start with the premise that we're just two guys who like to talk about the Bible in fun and practical ways. And we show up and we believe that you can just understand the words on the page by asking a few key questions, right? What's it say about God? What's it say about people? Mm-hmm. Is there a command to obey? Is there a sin to avoid? Is there a promise to claim? And what should I do about it, right? What should I do as a result? You ask those 6 questions, you can read almost any passage in the Bible and get something from it and apply it, right? So we normally don't put together a script like tonight. Obviously, we didn't put together a script, right? You got why am I here? But we just like to talk about what comes to us in the moment, as if we were sitting here talking, drinking a cup of coffee, just talking about the Bible.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting that you brought that up and that you moved into this worship side of this for a minute.
Well, it's only because I sang that goofy tune.
Well, and because the people were like, they wanted to check a religious box. How do we get you to leave us alone? What religious thing should we do? Are you going to make us, give 1,000 rams? Or how about if we sacrifice a kid? Will you leave us alone? Quit complaining, God, right?
Right.
And God's talking to them on a relational level, and they're trying to argue on a religious level. And so that's a big part of what you were talking about, bringing up the music side. Yeah. Because the art reflects the heart, right?
Yeah.
And so God's trying to get not just the mental side, but he's also trying to get the heart side. And tonight, Judy asked me to sign her Bible. She asked you to sign her Bible too.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we both signed it.
Yeah. You took up a big chunk, by the way.
Yeah, well,
it's a lot.
It's relevant to, like the importance of the signature and this one.
So you just wanted to give her a big chunk.
Well,
So I like that.
There were other signatures on there that were less important, that were smaller.
Yeah. Yeah. So my small one, I wrote. I signed my name, and then I just wrote underneath it Psalm 40, 1-3.
Oh, nice.
And those are like some of my favorite verses, probably the verses that have directed my life more than any other. And it says, I waited patiently for the Lord to help me, and he turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the pit of despair and out of the mud and the mire, and he set my feet on solid ground and steadied me as I walked along. And he's given me a new song to sing, of hymn of praise to our God, and many will see what he's done and be amazed, and they'll put their trust in the Lord.
Yeah.
And so, big part of that, that's my story. God pulled me out of the muck and the mire, and he set my feet on solid rock. That's great. But then he put a new song, right? He changed the song. The song's not what the world sings. The song's, songs that point me to him. But the Bible says that that the world sees the song coming from our life.
Right.
Right? And then it says many will see it and will fear and will put their trust in the Lord. And so the song in our heart really does reflect what's going on in our heart, who we are. And it's amazing to me. Some people say they want to honor the Lord. They want to make God first, and yet get in their pickup truck and you're going to hear what they're really honoring, right? And so we wonder why there's this tension all the time. And it's because we're feeding our hearts and our minds with something apart from God, and then we're claiming we want to follow God and have all the blessings. And so there's always this tension there. And I think that lands kind of in this place where they're like, hey, what are the religious rituals? Let me do a Sunday morning. I'll go to a Sunday morning. Do you want me to write a check? I'll write a check. Do you want me to serve on the usher team? I'll serve on the usher team. Right? That's kind of what I feel like is. Yeah. And God's like, no, that's not what I'm trying to get out of you. Instead, he says, the Lord's told you what is good and what he requires. Right. Not what he desires, what he requires of you, to do what's right, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. That's pretty powerful.
That's really powerful. Yeah. Hey, just to piggyback off of, you said you put your life.
He does this in his ministry all the time. Just piggybacks off of me.
Yeah, that's what it is.
All the time.
I am so grateful to follow in the wake of your greatness. I'm just lucky to be there. I'm treading water in the wake of your greatness. That's great. That's wonderful. So I also put my life verse on. I also put my life verse in Judy's Bible, which is 1 Corinthians 15:58, and I'm reading it because I know it, but this is the NLT. I know it in the King James, but it says, "So, my dear brothers and sisters, be strong and immovable. Always work enthusiastically for the Lord, for you know that nothing you do for the Lord is ever useless."
Yeah.
And by the way, this has nothing to do with anything. This is a bonus material.
Again, a lot of his ministry.
But Judy had listened to the Bible guys and faithfully, and I had mentioned that I named my cars. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
he names his cars.
Yeah,
what's your pickup truck right now?
Family. Well, it interchanges, so it's John Doe.
John Doe.
But my son's name is his truck's name is Roscoe. Liz's Ford Bronco is Caroline. Tori's is Izzy. She has a Ford Focus, and then I think that's it, right? So and then we have one in the car in the driveway, Fernando.
Fernando?
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen Fernando.
Yeah, the red one. Okay, so anyway, so Tom just bought Judy a car. And it is a Jeep, and it is a cool looking thing. And I had to decide whether it was male or female. I decided it was male. It's black on black. It's got a sunroof. I thought it's got to be a slick name that is black, and it's like a really cool name, but it can't be too slick. And it's got to sort of be compact. And so I decided that her car is named Nick. Nick is a good name. Now that could be short for Nicodemus. It could be short for Nicolas Cage, whatever you want to call it. But Nick
what would you call it if you went full name?
If I went full name,
what would you call Nick?
I kind of like Nicolas Cage, man.
Yeah.
I kind of like it. Yeah.
Because it's got the roll cage.
No, it doesn't. I just think it's cool, cool. Nicolas Cage.
Nick Cage
he's
cool.
He's pretty cool. Nick Cage.
Mm-hmm.
But Nick is your buddy. Nick is your pal, right? Nick wears sunglasses, right?
Right.
And he's a guy you could depend on, and that's what it is.
So welcome. Again, like you said, that was nothing about nothing.
Nothing about nothing.
Yeah.
But it is our time.
But it was important. So, if you're asking, so what am I supposed to do with my life?
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people go, oh, I'm not a preacher, I'm not a singer. So, and God's going, listen, this isn't complex. It's not like it's rocket science, right? Your daughter just got engaged to a rocket scientist.
She did, yes.
Full on, honest goodness rocket scientist.
Yeah, his degree, he's literally a rocket scientist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. You're going to have smart grandbabies.
Yes.
Finally.
I have some hope.
Yeah. Anyways, God says it's not rocket science. He just goes, listen, do what's right. That's not complex. I already told you what's right. Do the right thing. Love mercy, right? And a lot of times people who focus their life living for the right thing tend to be really harsh towards people who don't do the right thing.
Yes.
Right? And so he's like, hey, you do the right thing, but you can also love mercy.
Right. Stop typing in all caps.
You don't have to punish everybody all the time.
That's right.
Love mercy. And then walk humbly with your God.
Yeah, that's right.
And this humility, the Bible says that God opposes the proud, but he gives grace and his favor to the humble.
That's good.
And so this is all God's asking. It's not rocket science. We can do those. All of the people listening can do those three things.
That's right.
And all three of those are a choice.
That's right.
All three of them are a choice.
Well, hey, that sounds like a great place to end. That's certainly our time. We thank you for sticking with us, and hopefully we will see you tomorrow on The Bible Guys.
Wow.